Hello, good morning. I'm very happy and honored to be here today with you and to share ideas together. Thank you very much for the organization to invite me here, to invite COAR. And I hope I will give you some ideas about what we do, and hopefully it will help you in your way to open access also here in Turkey. So let's start, because we are many people today talking. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. I represent COAR, which is the World Confederation of Open Access Repositories. It's a young organization, but we already have a lot of members, around 100 from all continents of the world. It's the only international organization of open access repositories. And we are so happy that we already have a member from Turkey, which is İzmir Institute. Thank you, Gültekin. And we also have two more institutions that will become very soon members of COAR. Maybe Elif, please stand up. Elif Dogan, she is also a member, not a member, she works in COAR, the office. She's responsible for many things in COAR, and she is the one that is helping us to get in contact with all these institutions here. Would you say the name of these two institutions that will become? Thank you, Elif. Thank you. All right. So this workshop is about open access. And open access comes mainly from the digital revolution. Internet has been the step that creates open access. The digital revolution, Internet is the one that offers so many possibilities for sharing and most of all collaboration. This is the opportunity. So science becomes a global endeavor. Science and research and all the processes around should be considered global. Science is not anymore research in his office investigating. It's a matter of virtual groups, international, inter-countries, working in global problems. So the important thing that we have to have in mind is collaboration and sharing and interoperability. So all our repositories working together. So the term that is mainly used today in the European Commission is the term open science, which means, as you see, that we are able, thanks to Internet, to share research results and tools. That means when these researchers are working in virtual communities, they are sharing all our documents holding in our repositories, and also the machines and the tools they use to analyze, visualize, process, and then publish. So the meaning, the objective of the open science is to make it more efficient, transparent, trustworthy, and most of all, valuable, to make the science progress and ultimately for the benefit of countries and humanity as a whole. So then, the two pillars of open access. Of course, we have to take into consideration issues like sustainability, financing, but today we are going to talk about these two important pillars that relate directly with the workshop today, which is open access to publications. They have to be openly available for researchers. This is open access. And then also, as I said before, in open science, we need also the tools to be shared. And when you share tools, you become infrastructure. That's what it means. So if we put our repositories to be able to exchange information and processes which are open access, which means humans can look at those documents, but they can use them in that infrastructure, then open science becomes possible. So let's go for the open access to publication. One thing it's important now at this time, because open access, as you know, has been around for almost 10 years, 11 years already. And it's becoming a little fuzzy. What is open access? You know, there's open data, open, everything is open. But open access should be focused to be efficient and to really gain the objective in a specific peer review scholarly literature. What we want, what open access wants at this point, is to have all these articles that are being published in journals, or they are going to be published and they have been reviewed by other researchers, to be openly available. So this is the focus of our repositories in the main place, which that doesn't mean that our repositories can hold other kind of objects. But mainly the focus of open access is how we can put these scholarly articles, peer review, accessible globally, for them to be used, which is also very important in open access. It's not only passively to download a PDF for research. They want to use and reuse and do new things with all these documents, because there is when innovation and new things comes up and we can really answer these global and big questions. So here we are. One way of doing that, of open access to peer review publications, is our green road. You all are aware that repositories are considered the green road to open access. We are not going to enter, I would like to, but that will be another conference, what is the role of green repositories and the open access journals. We can discuss about that if you want sometime later. But repositories have a very important role to get open access to articles. So this is the green road. And I want to stress the importance of the institutional repositories. I guess you are all institutional repository managers, not disciplinary. We universities are institutions that produce very important research results. So our responsibility is very important, because we are a very important part of this global representation of human knowledge that has to be accessible. So our documents are very valuable for open access. And then we go, we have these 2,311 open access repositories for 10 years already, a lot of them, but actually the deposition and immediate access rates are around 20% only. So that brings us that putting articles in the repository is one of the most important things we have to do. You know, to implement a repository with the space, a software, it's not so difficult. You have your repository in place, and then you wait. Will they come? So they don't come, or they come very slowly. So the key challenge are researchers themselves, because they sympathize with open access. In general, when you talk to them, open access, oh yes, yes, very good, very good. Some disciplines more, but the majority of the researchers, they say open access is fine, but it's not my business. You know, I do my research, I publish my articles. After that, if you want to put them in open access, I am too busy. I don't have time to be there worrying about this, that. No, this is not my business. Mainly because prestige and promotion is still more important for them than open access. And that means that we need strong mandates, institutional mandates, funders' mandates, to push them and to break the inertia. Inertia? How do you say? You don't know inertia? So this kind of tradition that is difficult to change. They keep all the same tradition, and to talk about open access in repositories for them is to change their cultural tradition, and that is difficult, so we need the mandates. So, but mandates only don't work. So it's a combination of a strategy we have to establish in our institution. First of all, not in that order, it has to be all together, but we need a promotion, a plan to promote the repository, and that is very important in the strategy. We need to know the market, the stakeholders, the needs, their language, their problems, so we are ready with the arguments to respond to those problems they have. Then we need to develop services for them. That means the repositories has to be useful for the research to deposit the article there. If you deposit your article there, you will have this and that service. We have to help them with the copyright. That is a service, clearance copyright. We can offer them a list of bibliographies. We can offer them to deposit for them. Don't worry, we will do it. And many other services, but it has to be useful, not only for the sake of open access. Then it's important that our repository become engaged with the international context, because one argument we used, for instance, in our university is, look, it's not a librarian issue. It's not like the librarians all of a sudden they have invented this repository with an awful name. It's like internationally all universities are working on that, and we are going to get behind, because science is there now. And they are making it, they are building it, and they are putting all their production, intellectual production there. And we want to be there in the world where things are happening. So it's good that you belong to projects like Open Air, Meydan, and of course to COAR organization, international organization. And of course, and very important, to define a policy in your institution, an open access policy. So I'm going here quickly. We have in COAR, it's in our website, and we are going to publish very soon a report about best practices for populating repositories. So we have their success cases, what other universities in the world are doing, what is working, what is not working. So this is kind of the things you will find there. Statistics, for instance, are very good. If you show a researcher, look, this colleague of you, here, his article is in the repository, and it's got, 3,000 downloads in a week. So this is kind of, competition between researchers, and it works very, very well. I go because a little late. So we have also compiled in COAR materials for you if you want to create a service to help them with the copyright problems related to open access. We have their ideas, the documents, strategies you can use, of course, and also advocacy programs that will be, I think, very useful for you. I wanted to also mention in COAR we have this License and Open Access Task Force. That means it's a group that is working in one thing that librarians have a lot of experience, which is when we make the subscriptions agreement with all these journals that we subscribe with Elsevier or all these commercial publishers. So what we are working is how we can put an open access clause in that subscriptions agreement in the sense that if there are in those journals articles from our researchers, from our university, we have the right to put them in open access also. So this is also an important thing because subscriptions journals are one of the main important things we do in the libraries now. So we are working on that. I don't go through all these. You can go later. And then, as I said, mandates are the most important thing. This has been, as you see, a week ago, Stephen Harnard, a few others, have made a study about if the mandates make a change. And apparently, the stronger the mandate, the stronger generates. And if you have a real strong mandate, you can up the rate of deposit to 70, 100% after 2 years. So quickly, mention that the Commission, and I think this will be mentioned later, probably by Gültekin, you know, last year it was only a pilot, open access, but the next Horizon 2020 will be mandatory from the European Commission to deposit articles that has been funded by the Commission in all subjects, in all disciplines, not like in the pilot that were only part. Now the Commission is going completely to the open access green, and they want obligation to, so that will affect directly all your researchers in your institutions, and that will make your repository very protagonist, because the policy says that the articles has to be deposited in the institutional repository. So I have here two examples of mandates that are being very productive. It's University de Liège, Belgium, and the model is the immediate deposit, optional access. The idea is we want to have the article in the repository, the full text. If it's embargo, if it's not available immediately, doesn't matter, but we want to make sure that the article is deposited in our repository. That's very important. Later, because we also have to give some room to researchers, you know, researchers are free. We cannot go, you do this, that, the other. No, we have to be flexible. You put your article there, and we don't show it until you consider it, usually embargoes. And one important thing that the University de Liège has done is it has included another incentive. Because also, again, only mandates, it is not positive for the researchers. They have to find something useful, something positive in that. So what they did is, you put it in the repository, and we will only count your publications for assessment, evaluation, assessment processes if the article has been deposited in the repository. So it's like a tool for evaluation also. Instead of putting it in a web page or in the whatever, they have to put it in the repository, even with embargo. And then the university will go to the repository to see how many articles you have published, and then we will evaluate you from there. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. All right, so this is being very effective. And then there is the Universidade do Minho in Portugal, which has another incentive, which is also very interesting. They have open access, but then they pay the department. They give a financial incentive if they put their articles in open access. Okay, I give you this URL. It has been published also last week. Probably many of you know already. It's Good Practices for University Open Access Policies. You will find everything you will need to draft a policy in your institution, with all the cases about what, who, when, how. So, and then, how much time do I have? 5 minutes. I have still 25 minutes, so I'm going too fast. We'll have questions. Okay, great. Discussion, great. Okay, so imagine that we have worked very hard. We have this promotion, these services, the mandates, and we have a treasure in our institution. We have a wonderful repository with very good staff, all the articles of our institution. But the problem, as I said before, we cannot be treasure islands in our repository, because open science is about sharing and it's about collaboration. So also from the beginning, we have to think, when we implement our repository, that it is going to be a node in an infrastructure that is going to be part of a wider infrastructure, and it has to work with other repositories and with the tools that researchers use to process, to share documents or information in general. Data, for instance, I didn't mention data, but it's the most important thing now in science. E-science, which is the digital science, is based on data. This data that comes from the CERN, the observatory of the planets, and the experiments in our institution. So, they themselves, researchers, they are telling us that the real value of open access is the full connectivity of all electronic resources. It's not only the repositories, but the resources inside of the repositories. They have to be connected so they can exploit the powerful of internet to do interesting things with those things, you know. As I said, it's not just passively download a PDF. Research need to do things with those research results, reuse them. So there are words like usability, interoperability, internet, connectivity that researchers are lacking in our repositories. They say it's not so easy to find our articles, and they don't know what to do with them. So we are a little behind in that. So this is why we have to work on that. Why? Because this is kind of the things they want to do. You know, this is something they did in Stanford. They put together computers and they put together letters, correspondence between writers and philosophers in the 18th century, and they put the machine to work on them, and they established this correspondence, and all of a sudden something came up that they wouldn't have discovered if they didn't put the machines together to work on these documents. New relationships show up. So to do this, we need connectivity. Because I said research in the digital world is network distributed. Let's go. So that gives us another or a broader understanding of open access. The reason for open access is mainly, as I said at the beginning, the full exploitation of internet. Of course, the prices of journals was at the beginning the reason, but now the real power of repositories which don't have journals, because journals is only the last phase of the whole communication process. You publish the results, but what happens before the results? You have to look for the information, you have to put it somewhere, you have to visualize, process, discuss, you make versions, you put together data, articles, and finally you publish an article. But repositories are the infrastructure that support the whole process of research and scholarly communication. So the full exploitation of internet is what is now giving sense to open access. So this is exactly what I am saying all the time. The value of repositories lies in the potential to connect them and to create this network of repositories where research and machines, humans and machines, are going to work together. First, machines. So that gives us another concept of open access repository. Open access repository has articles in open access to humans, but our repository has to be also open in the sense that the first users are going to be machines, not humans. First, the machines go to our repositories, they do things. It's like the OAIPMH protocol. It's a machine that goes to our repositories and takes information from there and then creates services on top of that. So we need interoperability. And interoperability, as you know, is the possibility of two systems to communicate, to transfer information and to process this information together and to create services on top of this information. So, why do you want to be interoperable? First of all, because, as I said, we are a node of another infrastructure, a wider infrastructure. So we need to connect not only between repositories, but also with CRIS, which I don't know how you say here. in the universities, we have research database, where the researchers has to put what they have published, the projects they are in, the financial, all this information about their scientific production. So what we are working now is to integrate these research databases in universities with repositories. So researchers will have to do it once. They put the research production in the CRIS, or database, research database, and we ask them, do you want to put your full text article also available? And they push the button, and the full text goes straight to the repository in a seamless way. This is a service they like very much, because they don't like to push too many buttons, you know. We have to make research processes efficient and seamless for them. Or they want to use our articles in virtual learning environments. E-learning is also developing very much in our universities, and they use all these research results in the e-learning environment, or the virtual research environment, which is, for instance, a laboratory. And then we want to connect, and we want to be interoperable, because we want machines to build services on top of us. So all our documents are useful for something, you know. So far, the first service we have built is search and discovery. With OAMPMH, we have created these portals where one person can go and look for all the documents we have in all our repositories. This is the first thing. But once we have discovered them, let's do something with what we have discovered, right? So that we need to get together and aggregate repository content and let the machine and the computation power to act. I don't have time to show you, but this is a very, very fascinating issue for repositories. If you want, I might send you, when I come back, URLs of different projects that are working in that direction with aggregation of content, not only aggregation of repositories, and how machines can do things that I will send you the URLs to take a look if you are interested. So interoperability framework so far is at national level. All countries are building in Europe and outside of Europe, in Latin America, Japan, national portals with the OAMPMH, Open Air, and Open Air Plus in Europe, and global COAR. We are the international organization that wants to coordinate and promote and support the creation of what was the real vision of open access, the possibility of creating for the first time the global knowledge virtual object. You know, it's like all the articles become related virtually, and they are the whole knowledge available for all the researchers. They don't have to go from one side or the other. Now they are not investigating here and also here the same thing, and they don't know. Or maybe they have discovered here something very important for this, but these people don't know because it's not related. So as COAR, as organization, our vision is to create this global infrastructure of repositories and promote and support that. So, and there is also an upcoming global infrastructure for data. Data, as I tell you, is also kind of confusing. Data understood that all this information that comes from machine. Observe when you put a machine in the soil and you get humidity, that's data, for instance. And this is very much related with the article because the article is made out of the experiments they did with the data. So one of the issues now in OpenAir Plus, as Gültekin will tell you, is how we link articles with the data. And this is made with the standards and infrastructure. So core and interoperability, I go already. I'm finishing. It's in the most important, not most, but one of the focus of our activity has always been interoperability. So we have published, like a week ago, this current state of open access repository interoperability. Is the first part of a second report that will come in a couple of months, and we present an overview of the standards and protocols that are there, that the community of repositories are using, and what kind of protocol or what kind of standards you should use to create this service and to make sure that you are interoperable with the rest of repositories. So it's like a roadmap, and it's I go ahead. This is more or less the structure. As you see, we have the repository initiatives or protocols or standards to get, for instance, how do you build a repository network, or if you want to give statistics to your researchers or institution, what kind of system can you use, or we are using in the international community? Because also statistics is very good, but they need to be able to compare. Statistics isolated doesn't mean anything. You know, you need to compare, because otherwise it can mean whatever. You know, so we are working on compatible system of statistics, so you can offer downloads comparing with other institutions. And also we are working, this I told you about, making together the database of research with the repository, so there is only one button to push. This is interoperability, this is infrastructure, and this is made mainly with SWORD. I am sure many of you are familiar with that specification. We are implementing that specification SWORD to make interoperable with that other infrastructure in our universities. Or one subject that is very important, and we are all working about it in the world, is the author identification. It's not going to work if one person has 3 names, 3 different variation of names, or if many people have the same name, and machines are going to get absolutely confused, and we will not be able to offer quality services if we get an identification and disambiguation for the names of authors. We are very familiar with that in our catalogs, you know. We are used to have authority controls. What it is now, it's about to make that control authority meaningful for machines. So to make them understandable for machines. And that is URIs, linked data, and things like that I don't have time to develop, but I want to mention because it's the direction now for repositories, and I think it will be useful for you to have this in mind from the beginning. It's good to start when others have started already, so you go faster, you know. You split phases that you don't need anymore, and you go straight to the point. And well, we have also one concept. This is compound object, which is something that happens in the digital world and in the e-science. The result of research now is not only an article, a textual article. It has become a complex object, which is made also with data, with the software that has been used to analyze the data, with the models, graphics, with the metadata that comes with the object. And this metadata, it's another thing. If we want to be integrated in other infrastructure, it's not only Dublin Core. If you want to work with this research database, you need to have Serif model, which is another schema of metadata that you have to accept in your repository. Or you want to work with e-learning, it will be LOM. Or if you want to work with data, it will be those data that the researchers use to describe the data. So we have a very complex object made out also about, imagine they are working in a virtual investigation, and they have some kind of object, and they put comments on it. and they add things on it. How repositories, because we are the infrastructure for the whole cycle of research, how the repository is going to accept that new object with these new parts of the object and make it with a format that makes it reusable. So this is one of the things we have to work on it, to describe complex objects, living objects. They are dynamic along the process of the research, and the relationship between the parts of the objects, relationship in digital world, in collaboration world, is key. And this is how the web is evolving, and our world is evolving. Okay, so this is an example of you will find in the report the URL of the, in this case is how we integrate with repository, database of research and repository, the URL, and the area, other projects, people you can contact. So it's an idea of guiding you a little bit in this forest of protocols, standards, initiatives, etc., to get interoperability. Finally, I wanted to mention that it's very important in this connectivity and interoperability to establish partnership relationship with other organizations and other initiatives that are working together through the same goals. In this case, COAR works very close with Liber, Izaskun, she will go after me, and we have many projects together. We have signed a memorandum of understanding, and we will have a group together to get into those initiatives. So this is it. So only the challenges for repositories now, to be realistic, is we have to focus on populate our repositories, and remember, what we want for open access is the articles that are going to be published or that has been already published. Let's focus on it. Don't get lost. And we can also add the data. So we make the focus on that, and also we prepare our repositories to be able to work with other tools of our researchers, with other repositories, so they will have an efficient and productive infrastructure for their research. Because at the end, what we want repositories, our meaning is to support processes of research. We are not the protagonism. We are becoming invisible, actually. People don't work in our repository. They work in their environments. What they need is good information, good structure of the information that can be used in their environments. So this is where we go. And I think this is us. This is in our last annual meeting. Elif should be there also. Yeah. And we really will be very happy if you want to join our endeavor, international, and we will welcome you warmly. Thank you very much.
Halkada olanlar mikrofonları kullanabilirler ve ikinci halkada olanlar. Üçüncü halkada olanlara da sanıyorum mikrofon.
Mikrofonlar kullanmıyor. Nasıl
El mikrofonu gelecek. Sorusu olan var mı?
If there is no questions, I'm going to ask you.
Sorusu olan?
Oh, it was too early. Okay, so I am here all day. So I will be here if you want to ask me something, okay? I will gladly answer your questions. Okay? Thank you very much.
Peki, çok teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you.